Hey guys, so while I was editing, I realized that I want to add something, and I want to add, before you start watching this video, this is a video for people who are super interested to understand sort of the olive skin tone situation, and I share my opinions and my observations about what's going on with the olive skin tone situation. But at the same time, if you are watching this and you feel like it's getting a little bit much, like you're overwhelmed with all of the random information or you haven't been following my channel, just know that that's completely fine. You actually don't need to know this stuff. This is more just for people who are interested. I will have a video coming up though that is all about the how to find your best colors, and that video that's coming up is going to be the stuff that you really practically could do, and this video is more diving deeper into a lot of these random topics that I see surrounding the olive skin tone. So if you like that kind of thing, then yeah, keep on watching. And if you are still confused about your skin tone and your undertone, I do offer color consults through my website, and I will leave a link to those down below. Hi guys, so today I want to talk with you about olive skin tones, and particularly how and why olive skin tones can be both warm and cool, but at the same time why, if you are watching this video as an olive skin tone, you are most likely cool. So let's think sort of what happens to olive skin tones in general. So olive skin tones, a lot of the time, like people like me, okay, I've been told that I'm warm all my life, so I'm actually cool. And I'll leave a link to my color draping video down below if you're interested to see how different colors look against my skin. So I'm cool toned and I'm olive. Other people, like for example, anyone who appears to be East Asian, are also told that they're warm and they can often be cool, like Gemma Chan is cool toned as well. So there are a lot of people who are being told by society that they're warm who are actually cool. So the thing that happens with olive skin tones is that they're told that they're warm by society. The ones who are warm, they basically are fine with the recommendations, they're fine with everything, the colors work for them, everything is great, and they never even seek out color analysis, they never even seek out information online, they're not on Reddit, trying to figure out what's going on with their skin, why certain colors don't work for them, and things like that. So the only olive skin tones that we see, and of course there are exceptions, right? I mean, it's not literally the only olive skin tones that we see, but most olive skin tones that we see, even researching, even talking about being olive, are going to be the cool olive skin tones. And those are the ones who are doing the research because those are the people who have been told that they're warm when they're actually cool. So I think that a lot of this idea, sort of that olive skin tones are always cool, comes from that, because the warm olive skin tones are not really having that many problems because they're already told by society that they're warm, so they never have to research things. So that's sort of like the first thing that I want to get across to you guys in this video. If you're seeing a lot of people say that olive skin tones are always cool, I have to say I really disagree with that. I don't think olive skin tones are always cool, and I'm going to give some examples. I'm going to talk about sort of a lot of other things and a lot of other other ways that people describe why olive skin tones are cool and how that ends up all working out, So that's the first thing, is that olive skin tones, the ones who do the research, the ones who are making the videos, often the ones who are going to color analysts, they are going to be cool toned. So that biases the entire data set that we are working with when we are thinking about olive skin tones. Now, the second thing is that cool skin tones in general, or cool undertones in general, do have a harder time with colors. What's happening is that cool skin tones, when they wear warm colors, they can look blue, they can look gray, which is almost never really seen as a good thing. And warm skin tones, when they wear cool colors, they can sometimes look more yellow or more golden, which is easier to pull off. So they tend to not have as many problems. Of course, like, they still have problems. I'm not saying you guys don't have problems, but they don't have as many problems as the cool skin tones. So even putting olive aside, we have cool skin tones in general seeking color advice, and especially seeking color advice from color analysts. So you'll see a lot of, I've seen statistics that are like, color analysts are saying that color analysts are saying that 80% of the population is cool, 90% of the population is cool. And personally, that's not what I've seen at all. I don't really see a leaning that much to, cool, like 80% cool. I think what's really happening is that the people that color analysts see are more likely to be cool toned. So that's sort of the second thing. So when you even do the research, we have professionals who have very good reputations. They are, professional color analysts who are saying that more people are cool than warm. Not only that, but that effect is amplified for olive skin tones, because those olive skin tones, now they're told that they're warm. They're actively being told that they're warm by society. The only ones who go to color analysts or search for information are cool. And not only that, they are more likely to do that anyway, because all cool skin tones have a harder time. So that effect is really amplified for olive skin tones because of the societal bias that we have, on top of the normal bias of cool skin tones in general seeking advice more often. So that's sort of the second factor that goes into this, idea or thinking that olive skin tones are always cool. So the next question is, color analysts, they are walking around in real life and they must see, right, that 80% or 90% of the population is not cool toned. It's more like 50-50, or it's basically more like 50-50, I would say. I don't want to put a number to it, but I haven't seen a huge trend, in the general public that more people are cool toned or more people are warm toned. So what's happening with color analysts? If they're trained, and everything, why don't they see that more people, just as many people, are warm as cool? And why are they saying, or why don't they see warm olives in real life, in their day-to-day life, even if they're not color analyzing them? And I think this all comes down to the idea of the skin tone having an undertone that is invisible to the eye, that you can't see without color draping someone properly. And I think I actually know where that idea even comes from. So if you don't know anything about color analysis, what people do is they take different color drapes and they put it against someone's face without any makeup on or anything, in daylight or in really good lighting, and they see how that color affects their complexion. And if their complexion is more even toned and more glowing and radiant looking in certain colors, then those are their colors and their best colors, and then they have their worst colors, and usually it's split into cool and warm. So this idea that draping is necessary really comes from, this is sort of my theory that I just made up, it really comes from warm and delicate. Warm and delicate skin tones, they look warm, but then when you make them wear warm colors, they don't look good in all warm colors. So for example, Eva Mendes. Eva Mendes is an olive skin tone, and I think we can all agree on that. And Eva Mendes is warm and delicate. So what happens with Eva Mendes is she, when you look at her, when I look at her, and trust me, okay, I feel this just probably more strongly than you do. I want to take every single golden item from my house everywhere and collect all the golden items and just throw them at Eva Mendes, okay? Because she looks so golden, so warm, so amazing. But what happens when we take gold and we tell Eva Mendes wear gold, okay? What happens is that it looks weird on her. It looks quite separate on her. And then imagine you're a color analyst and you see someone who clearly looks warm, like Eva Mendes. You put a warm color on them, and now you see that they're not warm. They're not warm, right? And that can be very confusing, because what it leads to is the idea that you can't trust your eye as a color analyst. Just because you think someone is warm, that doesn't mean that they're actually warm. So when color analysts go out into the general public, they could see people who appear to be warm, and then they see even maybe that some olive skin tones appear to be warm. They see that maybe half the population appears to be warm and half appears to be cool. But the issue is that they cannot say that because they feel that they need to color drape someone in their studio to confirm if they're warm or cool, because they can't trust their eye because of people like Eva Mendes, who appears to be warm, but she doesn't look good in gold. And there are other people. This is not only This is not only an olive skin tone thing, this is a warm and delicate thing. So Cate Blanchett has been unanimously typed as cool. I think she's warm and delicate, so she looks amazing in peaches and creams. The same thing for Eva Mendes. She looks amazing in peach. Peach is a warm color. If you're really flattered by peach, you are most likely a warm undertone, and you might be warm and delicate. If you're flattered by peach, but you're not flattered by gold, you might be warm and delicate. It's very likely that you are. And I have a whole video called Golden Overtones with Cool Undertones that I'll leave a link to down below that talks about warm and delicate and why they are sort of placed into cool. And they're placed into cool because if I had that system, if I had the system of, either cool and delicate colors, right, sort of soft summer colors or anything like that, versus rich colors, which are autumn colors, rich warm colors like autumn colors, or warm and bright colors like spring colors. If I had those three options to put Eva Mendes in, I would put her into cool colors, into cool and delicate colors, because those would still be better than yellows or really, really rich golds and like really rich colors too. So I can understand why, and the same goes for Cate Blanchett. For Cate Blanchett, I would put her into cool and delicate or summer colors rather than putting her into autumn or spring colors, you see? So the thing with warm and delicate, and the key to sort of understanding all of this ever is this idea that I made up, okay? And it's the idea of chroma being a proxy for temperature. So the idea is this: if you are warm and delicate, the closer you are to yellow in your colors, like the closer the colors are to yellow, the more muted they have to be. And I also have a video on Zendaya that I'll leave a link to down below, who also has this thing where she is warm and delicate. She's flattered by terracottas, she's flattered by peaches, but she is not flattered by gold because gold is too warm for her. So the warmer the color, the more we have to mute the color. So that's what I mean by chroma is a proxy for temperature, because warm and delicate is closer to neutral as a skin tone. It's closer to neutral but slightly warm. So we want colors that are close to neutral and slightly warm. But what happens if you don't know this idea that chroma is a proxy for temperature, right? It means that now you look at Eva Mendes, she looks warm, she doesn't look good in gold. What does this mean? Is she cool toned now, right? Oh, okay, so she's cool toned. Oh, and that makes sense because she's olive. Do you see how that thought process can happen, right? Not only that, but it also means, wow, she looks warm. I want to put all the gold in my house on her, okay, because she looks so golden and warm. But when I do it, it doesn't work. So that means that I can't trust my eye. Oh, it must mean that the undertone is underneath the skin. And what we're looking at is Eva's overtones. Right? That's not true. We're not looking at Eva's overtones. What you're seeing is correct. Eva is warm. It's very straightforward. Her skin color is only slightly warm. That's why she doesn't look good in gold. So she would look amazing in copper and rose gold. So yes, so we have this circumstance with sort of not being able to trust our eye. And that leads to a lot of this mysticism around the skin undertone, and the skin undertone being underneath the skin and the overtones being over the skin. And that's the next thing I want to discuss. So a lot of you guys, not a lot, okay, only a few people have been sort of clarifying in some, in the comments under some of my other videos that there is such a thing as an undertone and it's underneath the skin, and there are overtones that are more like the surface tones of the skin. And I want to sort of clarify that, because what we're looking at is a problem in the language that we're using to describe these different ideas or concepts. So this is sort of how I see the skin, right? The skin is an organ. It has all kinds of different things in it. It has the veins and the capillaries, which reflect to appear to be blue, even though the blood is red. Someone always has to say that to me, like they're not actually blue. It doesn't matter what they actually are. They appear to be blue through the skin. So that is going to make a contribution to the blues of the skin color. Now we have hemoglobin, which is pink or red, and then we have pheomelanin, we have eumelanin, we have two types of eumelanin. Okay, we have the structure of melanin is complicated, so it reflects in different ways, it can fold in different ways. So I suspect maybe that's why some of the different eumelanins, even within the brown eumelanins, are different. It's very complicated. And then there's the fat that appears to be yellow, and then there is the beta carotene in the fat that appears to be more orange or yellow. And there's a lot of stuff, okay? There's a lot of stuff. And all of that stuff combines. Some things are farther underneath the surface of the skin, and some things are closer to the surface of the skin. So the entirety of all of those things combine to make a skin color. And that skin color can be some sort of brown. It can be ivory, which is a really light brown. It can be tan or beige, which is a kind of a light brown. It can be dark brown, it can be brown, or anything in between, right? So that's what I personally call the overtone of the skin is the color. Like, that is the color of the skin. The overtone is always brown or ivory or whatever. And I do believe that there are surface tones, but I like to call those surface tones. I don't like to call them overtones, because now when we start to talk about colors, it can get confusing. So what I like to do is I like to call surface tones, and the tones that are deeper, sort of underneath the skin, underlying tones. And then when we're talking about colors, I like to call the overtone the main color. So the overtone to me of the skin is always brown or ivory or beige or whatever, and the undertone as the leaning of the color to either yellow or blue or red or green. So now we have a clear language to describe, the overtone of a color and the undertone of a color versus the skin as an actual object, as an actual organ, which has surface tones versus underlying tones that all contribute to the skin color in general. So I think it's important to make that distinction, because that can become very convoluted when you are talking about skin tone. You're talking about skin tone, you're saying the undertone of a skin tone, and then you say, okay, well, the undertone of a skin tone is invisible, but then you talk about foundation and the undertone of a foundation. Well, what is the undertone of a foundation if the undertone is underneath the skin? Do you see how that language can become very confusing? Okay, so it's important to distinguish the two. Yes, so it's important to distinguish the two is what I'm trying to really do here in this video, and I really hope that in the future, if you're watching this video, I really hope you adopt some sort of language like that, like surface tones and underlying tones versus overtones and undertones for the color. Those are two separate things, okay? And of course, that's not the only way people define overtones and undertones in other fields of color. Some people say, people who paint say undertone is whatever how the paint spreads and underneath it, whatever. And then some people define overtone as the color bias. I define undertone as the color bias. So just remember, this is how I have chosen to discuss it. I think it's just the best way to discuss it when we're talking about color analysis. That's just how I do it. And I think it just helps. It simply helps with the communication of it. So now I want to talk about this whole thing. How earlier I said, okay, there's all of these different things to the skin, pheomelanin, eumelanin, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I want to talk about sort of why I feel like that's not important. That stuff I said basically only to show that I know it. I mean, there's no reason why it matters. Just like with the sky being blue, you could say that the sky is blue. Some people say it's because the water is blue and it reflects on the sky and it makes it blue. That's not true. It's because of Rayleigh scattering. Okay, it doesn't matter why the sky is blue, and it's not impressive to me if someone knows, why the skin is a certain color or why the sky is blue. What we're talking about here is the actual color, okay? And we don't need to complicate it with all that stuff. At the end of the day, if you are pairing colors, we're really talking about an art form. We're not talking necessarily about science, and science has its place, but this is not necessarily where it's useful. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's just a distraction or a complication. And I feel like with the skin having underlying tones and surface tones and knowing all of these different details can sometimes seem like it's important, but it's, in my opinion, more of a complication, and it doesn't really aid in any real understanding of the actual color of the skin. Like, for example, I've heard someone say that the skin actually doesn't have any green in it, and that's why green screens are green. That's a really fun fact. I think that's interesting. I think that's really interesting. At the same time, The skin effectively has green for our purposes. We're not using green screens. We're trying to choose makeup colors and colors that we're wearing. We care that the skin has some yellows to it and some blues to it, and those combine. Some of them are underlying tones, some of them are surface tones, and then they combine to form a green color. Just like if I were to mix blue paint and yellow paint, and I put them together, they will form green. And I could tell you all day that that green paint doesn't actually have any green in it. It has blue and yellow, but it's a little bit irrelevant, okay? Because we care that it's green. We don't care that why, like, we don't care why it's green, okay? That's just how I feel about it. Okay, so I feel like there's a lot of complications and people don't really know where to look for answers. And all of this is all because of Warm and Delicate, believe it or not. This all started with Warm and Delicate because Warm and Delicate, they look warm, but they don't look good in all warm colors, so they're placed into cool. Now we have people thinking that 80% of the population is cool toned, in part because Warm and Delicate is placed into cool, in part because olive skin tones who are seeking this advice are already cool, in part because all people or most people who are seeking color advice are cool. So we have a lot of people thinking that a lot of people are cool, way more people are cool than actually are. And we also have people, because of Warm and Delicate, thinking they can't trust their eye because they want to put them in gold, but they can't put them in gold because they look bad, so they must be cool. And so this all stems from Warm and Delicate. This entire problem stems from Warm and Delicate. And the icing on the cake is redheads, okay? Redheads. If you are a redhead, you are, okay, look, there are always exceptions, okay? There are always exceptions. If you're a redhead, though, you are most likely not olive. Red is the opposite of green. If you mix red and green, you get brown. I mean, red and green are complementary colors. So if your skin leans green, it cannot lean red at the same time. Redheads have pheomelanin, right? It's called pheomelanin, pheomelanin, however you pronounce it. Pheomelanin is like orange or red. That's why they have red hair. And when they're light enough, you can see sort of the veins and capillaries through their skin, and they can often look very pink in tone. Okay, so redheads almost under no circumstance are going to be olive. But why are redheads thinking that they're olive now? Now, I've seen this in more than one place, and I always have a rule: if I see it in one place, I don't talk about it on my channel because I'm not trying to single anyone out. I've seen it in more than one place. Julianne Moore being an olive skin tone. Julianne Moore is the opposite of an olive skin tone. Saying that you have pink, you are a pinky toned olive. That's like saying you are a wet fire. It's the opposite. You can't be both, you know? So why is Julianne Moore apparently olive? Because she's another subset of society, including bicolor analysts, okay, who has been told that, oh, you're a redhead, you're warm. But Julianne Moore is not warm. Julianne Moore is cool and radiant, and she falls into the category of the lightest skin tones always being cool and radiant. I have some videos down below that I'll link, and I have a video on redheads, okay, but she is cool and radiant. There is a lot of talk about redheads being warm all the time, but they can look awful in warm colors, and then they go to color analysts and they might even be told, yeah, you're warm because you have warm eyes and warm hair. And then they're like, I'm not warm. I must be olive, okay? No, you're not olive, okay? You're just a cool redhead, which is also excellent. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff, and olive has become sort of an umbrella term for everyone who does not fit into the color paradigm that we have. And the color paradigm that we currently have is everyone who is basically, I'm just going to be blunt, everyone who is not white in society is warm. East Asians are warm. Olive skin tones are warm. Okay? And then my favorite is deep skin tones are deep. Like, thanks, okay? So we have systems that don't work for the entirety of the world. We have systems that don't work for the entirety of the world, and we try to tack on these other skin tones on the side. We try to say there is, have you guys seen diagrams like this? Warm, cool, olive, deep. That's like me saying warm, cool, redhead, light. Those are not 4 categories. Warm, cool, olive, deep are not 4 categories. Olive fits into cool and warm. It's another axis. So the skin tone works more like this, okay? So there is a warm and cool axis, and it's a skin undertone spectrum, and that's the part that really matters, that's the part that really matters. And then there's also pink, red and green, basically, which is another axis. And you could be olive and cool. You could be olive and warm. You could be pink and warm. You could be pink and cool. Okay, so those are the sort of the 2 axes. And then there's also an axis of the depth of the skin tone, so how light or dark it is. So you could be deep olive and cool. You could be deep pink and warm. You could be light olive and warm. Yeah, so there's a lot of combinations, okay? And then there's a lot of intermediates, they're all spectrums, so that's the integrative system that I am talking about, that integrates, basically, has an integrative understanding of all of the skin tones and doesn't tack on olive or deep as a sort of addition to warm and cool, like as if it's different, they're not really that different. They're all related. And to top it all off, all of the sort of problems that you're experiencing, another thing, this is why I feel like this is why I care so much about this olive issue, because it really just shines a light on everything that I personally and professionally think is wrong with color analysis as an entire field, okay? So, we have people who are cool and delicate like me. I would be placed in winter. So I would be placed in winter, which means I look good in cool and bright colors. Cool and bright colors do not look good on me. They overpower me. I look good in cool and muted colors. And there are plenty of people like me, including Kim Kardashian, including Alexis Bledel, who is not olive. She is pink toned, and she's also cool and delicate. So that's another problem that now we've sort of exposed with color analysis, right? Is, having an olive skin tone. Now, all of the people who are cool and delicate, like me, and being placed into deep winter or winter or whatever, being told to wear bright colors, now they're like, oh, it's because I'm olive that I look good in muted colors. It's not because you're olive. Alexis Bledel is pink toned, and she has the same problems as you as an olive skin tone, as me as an olive skin tone, because she is also cool and delicate in her skin tone itself, not because of her features, not because of her hair, not because of her eyes, just because of the skin tone itself. And she has the same problems that you have as a cool and delicate olive skin tone, which is she looks gray a lot of the time. That's not an olive thing. That's a cool and delicate thing. She looks gray when she wears warm colors. So this is another sort of kind of problem that I always thought that when I made this channel that cool and delicate would be like my pet issue, my pet undertone that I would be making all the videos about. But it turned out that warm and delicate has been what I'm making all the videos about, and I have a lot of videos on that, but not as many on cool and delicate. But it's the same thing, right? And it's the same thing of being placed, it's an overvaluing of the features, in determining chroma of the colors that you're wearing. So yeah. And I also see a lot of warm and delicate people, okay? So warm and delicate people like, let's say, Sarah Hyland, who are more peach intoned, and they're thinking that they're olive. They might also feel like they're olive because, no color analysis system works well for them. Being warm and delicate, no color analysis system really works well for you because of this idea of chroma as a proxy for temperature that I discussed earlier. And a lot of people are telling me, well, there are plenty of systems that have a warm and muted or whatever, warm and muted, warm and delicate category. How is your category any different? It's because of this, first of all, chroma as a proxy for temperature, and secondly, and most importantly, it's about the skin tone itself. I never determined that someone is warm and delicate based on their features. So Mila Kunis is not warm and delicate because of her you know, soft eyes or something like that. She's warm and delicate because her skin tone is warm and delicate. And Rachel Weisz is cool and delicate, not because of her soft eyes or, you know, anything like that. It's because of her skin tone being cool and delicate. And I don't know that that's really out there to use the skin tone alone. And some people do use skin tone alone, but using skin tone alone as the only determining factor, and on top of that also using the Chroma as a proxy for temperature, I don't know that that information is necessarily out there. And I feel like it's really the key to really understanding the color family that looks really amazing on you, that makes your skin glow and makes you feel amazing. So that's it, you guys. If you made it to the end of this video, congratulations. If you're still here, please leave a comment down below about what your favorite food is. My favorite food is chocolate. I know that that is not allegedly a real food, but I would say otherwise. Sometimes I have it for breakfast. So anyway, leave a comment down below about your favorite food, and chocolate counts and desserts count. So that's it. I will talk to you guys next time. Okay, bye. If you guys liked this kind of video, then I also have exclusive content on Miriam Style Club, where we get deeper into these kinds of topics, and we have Q&As that are like an hour long. We have club member color typing and body typing, so sometimes people will submit photos, and you know, we have a video where we discuss a club member's color and body type. So if that sounds interesting to you, then I will leave a link down below to Club and how you can join. So I will talk to you guys next time, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to leave a comment. Okay, bye.